We'll coming to the last topic in object-oriented programming in Java. Last topic in OOPS. Encapsulation covered, abstraction covered, inheritance covered, polymorphism covered, and this is a message passing topic. The last topic in OOPS. Coming to the message passing mainly deals with two things. One is pass by value, and other one is pass by reference. Pass by value and pass by reference are the two topics we're going to discuss in message passing. What exactly mean by message passing? See, in procedural, object oriented, or any programming if you take, we pass arguments into methods. Arguments of various types, like maybe int, float, long, double, character, boolean, array, string, object of any class. Because we pass arguments into methods, the arguments we are passing into methods are called as messages. Messages passed into methods. Message doesn't mean that it's a string message. Message means it can be of any type of data type value. So, while passing arguments, and in simple words, passing argument into methods. Passing arguments into methods is called as message passing. In that, the two classifications are pass by value and pass by reference. This is clear. Passing arguments into method. Passing arguments into method is very common. Whenever you call the method, you will pass arguments into the method. So that itself is called as message passing. But why this topic is demarcated or divided into two pass by value and pass by references? Because in Java, not only in Java, in every programming language, we deal with the two types of data types. One is primitive data types, and second one is secondary data types. So what are primitive data types? Byte, short, int, long, float, double, char, boolean. These 8 are primitive data types. And what are secondary data types? Secondary data types are arrays and classes are called as secondary data types. So here the point is, in the message passing, the classification came because if you pass primitive values as argument into method, like for example, if you pass int as argument into method, if you pass some double as argument into method, if you pass character or boolean as argument into method, if you pass primitive member as argument into method, the changes we make in the method, will that be reflected in the original value or not? Right. Similarly, if I pass an array as argument, if I pass any class object as argument into method, if any changes made in the method, will they reflect in the original copy or not? So, in order to show that difference, we are discussing this topic as pass by value and pass by reference. In a method, if you notice any int, mostly we use int, byte short we don't use, int we use, long some little less frequently we'll use double frequently, and less frequently use are char and boolean. If you notice a method passed with any of these parameters, if you notice any method passed with any of these type parameters, int, long, double, char, boolean, Float I'm not writing, and short and byte I'm not writing because we don't use them much. If any method noticed with these data type as parameters, then it is called as pass by value. And coming to, if you found any method, if you found any method, if you found any method passed with some names array as a parameter, or ages array as a parameter. Any array is a parameter. It can be string array or it may be int array. Int is different from int array. Int is a primitive data. Int array is a secondary data. Similarly, any class type as parameter. So if you pass any method notice with array or any class type as a parameter, then such type of message passing is called as pass by reference. Pass by reference. So what is the difference between pass by value and pass by reference? The point is, here is a method. Into method we take these type of parameters. So while calling the method, into method will pass arguments, right? Into method will pass arguments 10 comma some 1 2 3 4 5 something like that. We'll pass some arguments into method. So these are the parameters. While calling the method, while passing the values, we'll call them as arguments. Whenever we are passing arguments into method, these values, this int value will be copied here, this long value will be copied here. Only values will be copied into method, but not their addresses. But not the memory where the memory is allocated for 10, somewhere in the buffer, where the memory is allocated for 1 2 3 4. That address is not passed here. Only the value will be passed as argument into the method. So if you make any changes to this variable in the method, if you make any changes, plus plus or something like minus minus, if you do any operations on these method arguments, they will not reflect the original copy of the variables. They will not reflect the original copy of the variables. So that is what called as pass by value. We will see that with an example. Okay. The same thing I mentioned here. Primitive members int long float double char boolean passes argument into method are called as pass by value. In pass by value, the value of the variable is copied into method argument. Only the value of the variable is copied into the method argument. So that even though the parameter value changes in the method, the argument or value does not reflect in the original copy. So we'll see the example. Here I took one class called PBV. PBV means pass by value. Just for a short notation, I named like that. Class PBV, pass by value. Public static void main, because from there the program stand-on program execution starts. I declared 4 variables here. One integer variable 18, age int age 18. Second, double salary 50,000. Character CHA. Otherwise, you can write character some gender is equal to M or F, male or female. Okay, you can take any single character. And boolean variable, one boolean variable yes or true, yes or no. The value by default assigned to true. So 18, 50,000, A and true are assigned to the variables. So as soon as I declare these 4 variables, I'll print all the 4 variables. Age I'll print, salary I'll print, character I'll print, and yes or no I'll print. So their original values will be printed, and 18 will be printed, 50,000 will be printed, A will be printed, true will be printed. I'm just printing and I'm just confirming whether what is the value of these variables, because nothing has been changed. So same values will be displayed. If I pass age, if I pass age, if I pass salary, if I pass CH, if I pass SR, no, the boolean variable. If I pass these primitive members as arguments into method, only their value will be copied. Only their value will be copied into the method. Only their value will be copied into age 18 years, that will be copied into I. And that salary 50,000 will be copied into this double D. 50,000. The character ch value is copied here, and the boolean value true is copied here into the method. Only the values are copied. So if you make any changes to the I variable, 18 plus equal to 10 means 28, right? 28. The value is 28 here. To the D 50,000, I added 10,000 more. This value becomes 60,000. And the character A I replace with B. Okay. The boolean value true I replace with false. So once after modifying these parameters in the method, I'll print the values IDCB. So this 28, 60,000 B false will be printed here inside the method. But after calling this modify method, if I try to print these original variables, age, if I print the original variable age will remain as 18 only, salary will remain as 50,000 only, CH will remain as A only, yes or no, will be remain as true only. These values are not changed. These values are not changed. These values are not changed because only their values are passed into the method, but not their addresses. So original copy will not be modified, but these parameter values inside of the method, they only got changed because value is passed but not the addresses. This is called as pass by value. If you pass primitive member as a parameter in any method, that should be treated as a pass by value. Pass by value. See, that's what I'm saying. Only the values are copied into the method, hence changes made in the method are not reflected in the original variables. Coming to the next one, pass by reference. How do you recognize that this method is passed by reference? If method contains any arrays or class references as parameters, then such methods are treated as pass by reference. Arrays and all objects except string passed as argument into method are called as pass by reference. String is different. String is also a class. String object, if you pass, it should be treated as a pass by reference only. But we'll discuss about string later on. String is immutable. So if you create string object, suppose with value Surya, Surya, 5 characters, 5 into 2 bytes, 10 bytes memory will be allocated somewhere in the heap. So if you modify that string variable str ever in future, add something to it, add some extra characters to the string, some Narayana space you give or third space you give Narayana, and again to the string if you concatenate something and take it into the same string object reference. Immediately what happens, previously Surya is having only 5 characters, 5 into 2, 10 bytes, wherever 10 bytes memory is allocated, str will point to that. If you concatenate Narayana to it, so wherever the space is required for the entire Suryanarayana, their memory will be allocated. And the memory allocated for the Surya will be reallocated. The Surya plus whatever you concatenate in Narayana, that whole will be copied into one more memory address. String str will point to that address, but old address will be vacated. So that is how strings are immutable. And once created a memory, once pointing address by the string object doesn't, it won't remain always same. If you modify string object, immediately its address changes. So those strings are classes. Their objects are passed by reference. But string cannot be treated as a pass by reference. It should be treated as a pass by value. So except string pass this argument into method or called as pass by reference. In pass by reference, the address of the object is passed into the method, so that if any changes made to the object in the method will be modified in the original object also. Okay. If that is the case, if that is the case, if that is the case, here I took one user defined class called employee with how many variables? Employee ID, employee name, salary, and designation. employee, employee name, salary and designation. So it's normal, typically any employee class looks like this. So what about this? These are some and these are class instance variables, isn't it? Class variables are different from class instance variables, non-static variables, class instance variables. And what about this? This is no parameter constructor, explicitly written, no parameter constructor. What about this? This is parameterized constructor. Parameterized constructor. So into this constructor, into this ID, whatever you pass, that will be assigned to EID. EN, whatever you pass into EN will be assigned to ENAME. Whatever you pass into SA will be assigned to salary. Whatever you pass into D will be assigned to designation. So that is why I am assigning all the constructor parameters to class instance variables, employee, employee name, salary, and designation. And the toString method, I am printing the whole state of the object. The whole state of the object I am printing here. Employee, employee name, salary, and designation. So it's a normal class. A class with 4 instance variables and 2 constructors. One no parameter constructor and one parameters constructor. And one overridden toString method. Because toString method comes from which class? From the object supermost class. One overridden toString method. Now coming to this program. This is a PBR, pass by reference program. In this pass by reference program, also I included main method. In the pass by reference, I declared one int array, double array, 10.24, 20.45, 30.65. 10.24, 20.45, and 30.65. So 3 double values. It's one double array, size of 3. And here I am creating one employee object. Employee is equal to new employee of employee. Employee name ABC. Employee name will come here. Salary is 1 lakh. That will come here. Designation architect will come here. So you create one employee object with employee, employee name, salary, and designation with 4 arguments. And we are passing that double array and employee object references as arguments into this method. PBR. Pass by reference method. Some method name. So coming to the method, so this double, because arrays and class object references are passed by reference, I said. The address and wherever the memory is allocated to double array, wherever memory is allocated to employee, their addresses will come. Array address will come and object address will come here. Hence, inside this array, df0 means its value is 10.24. That we change it to 40.89 and 10.24 will be replaced with 40.89. What about the remaining values? Remaining values will remain as 20.45 and 30.65. They'll remain as this. And the next coming to the employee also. In the employee object, 1 ABC, 1 lakh architect. To the employee name, we concatenated Mr. before employee name. And we prepended Mr. to employee name. So Mr. ABC, the value will become. And I'm making the salary double. Initially the salary is 1 lakh. I'm making the salary double. Employee.salary plus employee.salary. Or employee.salary plus I can say. That you can take it into employee.salary. Employee address is passed as argument here. Employee ID remains same. To the employee name, Mr. is prepended. And salary got double. 1 lakh got double to 2 lakhs. And the designation remains as architect only. After calling the method, if you try to print the double array, how to display array? We cannot directly write array as argument into system.out.println. So here I am using enhanced for loop. In enhanced for loop, what is the syntax of enhanced for loop? The syntax of enhanced for loop is, in the for loop, we need to use array. We need to use array reference after colon symbol, and before colon symbol we need to take one scalar variable, because it is a double array. From the double array, each time one double value will be produced. To take each value from the double array into one single double variable, we declare double d1 colon d. So this enhanced for loop will automatically determine the size of the double array, and each time the value will be populated into d1. We are just printing that d1 here. So the modified value 40.89, 25.45 and 30.65, the original values will be printed as this. And after that, here in the system.out.println I am passing e as argument. Because in Java, in system.out.println, if you pass any object as argument, any class object as argument, in system.out.println, if you pass any class object as argument in the method in a SOP statement, system.out.println will internally call on the object. It will implicitly call .toString method. .toString method will be implicitly called on every object passed as argument into system.out.println implicitly. So here if you pass system.out.println e, implicitly this toString method will be called. Employee name, salary designation will be printed. Employee remains as one only. To the to the ABC, Mr. was preprinted. Salary became 2 lakh, and architect the designation remains same. So this is how, by whenever you pass array or any class object references arguments into method, after execution of the method, if you print the original array and object, the modified values will reflect here. The modified values will come here because the address and these two array and object are sharing their addresses with the method. Their addresses are shared here. So if you make any changes here, because to whichever memory location these two are pointing, to the same location this D and this E also will point. So if you make any changes, will that changes will not reflect here? Will that changes will not reflect here? In case of before, in the case of pass by value, only the primitive member values are passed as argument into method, but not their addresses. This time, this whichever to memory address, this double array, this employee object are pointing, their addresses are passed here. So here double array parameter and employee parameter also points to the same addresses. So if we make any changes here, the changes will reflect there only. The address of array and employee object are passed as arguments into method. Hence, changes made to array or employee object in the method are reflected in their original copy. Changes made to array or employee object in the method are reflected in the original copy. That's about pass by reference. Here ends the message passing. Here ends the message passing topic. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.